The Witcher 3 has two of the most highly rated DLC in gaming history, and via the ratings you can probably presume that they're both high quality DLC, but today I'd like to find out which one of the two is better. Blood and Wine is the latter of the DLC, and it was the highest rated DLC in all of gaming before the new Elden Ring DLC. Fair warning, there are going to be spoilers for both DLCs, so if you've not played them, I highly recommend you come back to this video after you have. Let's find out if CDPR improved with Blood and Wine or had the formula all along with Hearts of Stone. It seems that amidst my cinematography and editing skills I forgot to say hello, so hello guys. Today, as I've mentioned, we're talking about the legendary Witcher 3 DLCs and their quality. This isn't an in-depth deep dive into DLCs as that would take hours, but rather a comparison of key aspects to see which is better. We'll cover a few categories and then conclude. You may all have your own opinions, so let me know what you think in the comments as always. Before we start, make sure that you subscribe as we're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year and we are closing in on that 2025 mark. We also have a Discord which is in the description. The Discord has had plenty of upgrades recently and it's been very nice to be involved in. Without further ado, let's get started with the first of its kind, Hearts of Stone. With Hearts of Stone, I'm sure many appreciators of The Witcher can say that CDPR did in fact not disappoint. This was the first DLC installment for The Witcher 3 and they scored an 89% on Metacritic. I know many of fans who would rate it higher than that. I myself have it a little lower, but it's around that. Very well received and great DLC. Now the first category that we're going to cover today is the map. I think this is a very crucial part for a DLC as it is literally your entire environment for the gameplay. Hearts of Stone takes place in Velen/Novigrad, no man's land, and opens up that whole eastern area of the map on Velen. It's definitely nothing innovative, new, unique, special, however you want to call it, but it's alright. My favourite place in the DLC is the new place where there's a lot of sand and very clear water near the Fairy Enchanter. I think this area is really pretty, as you can see on screen. It's very bright and very colourful. I like it. But as I said, it's really nothing new. Now what is worthy of discussion is the story of Hearts of Stone. The story, in my opinion, is a different animal unlike anything else that we have seen so far in The Witcher. Honestly, I don't think the base game story of The Witcher was incredibly fascinating, but the story of Hearts of Stone is. There are a lot of characters that are incredibly nuanced, such as the man you're seeing on screen, Olgierd, and Gaunter Dimm, who you met first in the White Orchard Inn. The story of Hearts of Stone follows Geralt as he meets with the Master Mirror again, who again, we met at the start of the game. He remains very mysterious throughout and meets us again in Hearts of Stone. I won't spend all video summarizing the story, but Gaunter Dimm is the antagonist and Olgierd is somewhat of a deuteragonist, appearing as an antagonist at first. As you go through the story. Unfortunately viewers, this video has been halted by the punctuation police. bdon, what does deuteragonist mean? Okay, punctuation police, this is a little bit awkward, but deuteragonist literally just means the person second in importance to the protagonist in a drama. Alright, bhoppin bdon, you're free to go, but don't do it again. Thanks. Dude, these punctuation police, man, every single Back to the video. You're very called into question of your morals a lot. Side characters are nuanced and flesh out as you progress, but none match the depth of Olgierd and Gaunter themselves. I mean, seriously, it's hard for a story not to be so peak when somebody is literally pulling the strings the whole time and simultaneously being like the Itachi Uchiha of The Witcher. You know nothing about this guy or his powers. There probably wasn't a single moment in the story that I wasn't utterly invested in what was going on in my game. As we fulfill Olgierd's wishes, we actually get to peer into who he is as a person and why he is such a horrible person, or why he was at least. I personally sympathize with Olgierd a little bit, especially when it comes to dealing with this guy who is literally an allegory for Satan in The Witcher. The story is phenomenal, honestly unbeaten by anything else I've ever played, watched, or witnessed. 9 or 9.5 out of 10. And we finally get to the meat and potatoes of Hearts of Stone, the antagonist. I'm going to keep this very brief, and the reason I'm going to do that, although this should be the longest segment of the video, is because Gaunter Dimm deserves his own video. I'm just going to come out and say it now. This is a 9.5 out of 10. Antagonist is nigh perfect. As I said earlier, I believe he's an allegory for Satan from the Bible, but in The Witcher. He tries to charm you with material gain. He can grant you any wish that you want, bring you any fortune that you want in exchange for a contract where you sell your soul. He's a very creepy and unknown villain, and that is the very essence of fear, the unknown. And if you're not scared of the unknown, you will be scared of somebody who can stop time. And on top of being able to stop time, they can do a plethora of other things, most of which you have no idea about. Really isn't much else that I want to say about Hearts of Stone except for the final category that we have, which is basically a miscellaneous or additional content category. So let's very quickly cover it, as there isn't really much to discuss in Hearts of Stone anyway. What I mean by additional content is things like side quests, map objectives, bosses, new mechanics, and things like that. Hearts of Stone has 15 side quests overall, most of which being to do with the enchanter or horse racing, so pretty repetitive and nothing really new. Although you do get to romance a certain, perhaps desirable character for some out there. And I mean, I guess the redhead's fine, but that white-haired guy, goddamn, he's a stunner. To very briefly and quickly summarize all the other stuff it adds the enchanter, the O'Fairy enchanter, which is pretty cool, the Toad Prince, which is awful, the faceless monster that you fight in Irish's questline, which is one of the best fights in the game, very good dialogue options, and not very many map objectives. And with that, we have pretty much covered all sections of Hearts of Stone I deem relevant for this comparison. So, let's hop into the 92% rated, highest rated DLC of all time, just until recently, Blood and Wine, and see how it compares to its older brother. Blood and Wine, as we are probably all aware, was incredibly well received. 92% on Metacritic, incredibly highly ranked. As I said, it was the second highest ranked of all time until the Shadow of the Erdtree dropped. But does this superior rating immediately seal Hearts of Stone's fate as the lesser DLC? My answer to that is no. Blood and Wine was truly something special, and I really mean that, but it has its flaws just as everything does, even I and even yourself. So let's get started with the map. The map or area that Blood and Wine primarily takes place in is called Toussaint, which is basically France of The Witcher, but like a cool France, not like a bad France. This map has so many new and unique areas, it's actually incredible. Probably has the most pretty main area for the quests, which is Beauclair. Very diverse areas, winding towns, even the place where you get dyes is a good example of diverse structures. Vibrant, new and refreshing areas. There's also a totally different area called the Land of a Thousand Fables, a story for another time, but it's incorporated in the main quest, and it's pretty flabbergasting in and of itself, although you are only there for about maybe an hour or two of gameplay. Longer if you wish, of course. So, for the map of Blood and Wine, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10 overall. Now, in true Geralt fashion, I may get pitchforked for this take, but the story is less impressive than the map of Toussaint, or Blood and Wine. The story in Blood and Wine keeps you on your toes a lot, and it's very Witcher-esque, as you are following a beast that you don't know anything about, and you need to track it down. Geralt, being an expert tracker, is perfect for the job. He follows the tracks of the Beast of Beauclair, or, spoilers, Dettlaff. Dettlaff is a higher vampire, which is very dangerous. And in true Witcher fashion, we uncover stuff about him that may change our perspective as we are hunting him down. Very nuanced character, as most people are in The Witcher. We also meet Regis, an absolutely phenomenal character from the books, and he basically carries the DLC. Jokes aside, he only kinda carries it. Just a little bit. The story is very compelling and exciting, but for me it felt like I was doing a lot of the same thing over and over again, which is kind of a theme when hunting Dettlaff. The plot does start to thicken a little bit as you get deeper into the story, of course. However, if I gave Hearts of Stone a 9.5, I don't even feel comfortable giving this an 8.5. It has an interesting climax and very cool dialogue choices and unique endings based on previous actions. You also get to meet the absolute GOAT, one of the most powerful characters ever, the Unseen Elder. Anyways, I'm gonna give the story an 8 out of 10, as I didn't think it was super impressive, but I thought it was good nonetheless, on the higher end of good, but not quite great or amazing. While we're here, I thought I'd just wrap up the antagonist as well. Again, as aforementioned, the antagonist is Dettlaff, initially known as the Beast of Beauclair, who's just killing people in Beauclair. Dettlaff is an interesting character with lots of nuance to begin with, but I'm sorry, he's such a whiny bitch. I totally understand that he's a vampire and he's trying to understand relationship, and he's being played the whole time like a puppet, but oh my goodness, it gets so annoying listening to this immature little baby. I understand, I get it, it's part of his character. I just don't think Dettlaff's vibe is for me. Gaunter solos. Regis is a supporting character throughout, as I said, in finding and trying to help Dettlaff find himself and make us sympathize with Dettlaff to not kill him, but spare him and let him understand the struggles of being a human/vampire guy on his own. Dettlaff alone, in my opinion, is not super interesting, but he's not a horrible antagonist by any means. Please do not think I'm saying that. He's an alright antagonist. The situation Dettlaff is in, the people he's around, Regis, Anna, and Sienna, are the people who make the plot interesting and the antagonist interesting therefore. If you disagree, please let me know in the comments. I would happily be available for respectful discourse. 8 out of 10. I would like to move on to the final category that we have to review of Blood and Wine, and that is the strongest category in my opinion. That's the additional content. One of the strongest, actually. Not the strongest. In Blood and Wine, you are utterly saturated with options on what to do. There are 50 plus side quests in Blood and Wine alone, and I'd say the vast majority are compelling with plenty of lore. See, as I did with Hearts of Stone, I I was going to put an image up of all the side quests, but they don't fit on the screen, so bit of a major flex there for Blood and Wine. My personal favorite side quest is the Warble of a Smitten Knight from Blood and Wine, and if not that, it's got to be Till Death Do You Part, which I think is just a very funny and very silly side quest. It was very enjoyable. The bosses in Blood and Wine are actually the most unique bosses in the game in my opinion, such as the Ancient Leshen and the Wicked Witch in the Land of a Thousand Fables. It took me longer to do Blood and Wine, partly due to immersion, than it did to do all of Velen and Novigrad, to be honest. That is more than enough glazing of Blood and Wine. That about wraps up the comparison of the two best DLC I've ever played in gaming history. Now let's compare and see which is better. Man, that was a whole lot of talking, and I'm glad that we're almost done. If you've noticed, we've been going for an out of 10 scale this whole video. We're going to be adding that up, making it into a percentage, and making it into something out of 10, and then comparing the final scores. Let's start with Hearts of Stone. So for map, we had a 7 out of 10, for story, we had a 9 out of 10, for antagonist, we had a 9.5 out of 10, and for additional content, we had a 7 out of 10. This totals up to 8.1 out of 10 when you add them all up and divide them by themselves, or 81% out of 100. Now let's move on to Blood and Wine's ratings. For Blood and Wine, we had an 8.5 for map, we had an 8 for story, an 8 for antagonist, and a 9 for additional content. This totals 8.4 out of 10, or 84% out of 100. So there you have it, folks. Those are my ratings for what is the better DLC, with Hearts of Stone coming in with an 8.1 out of 10, and Blood and Wine with an 8.4. So Blood and Wine is the victor. And if you're one of the folks who have somehow sat here and listened to my stupid Scottish accent for the last however long, 11 minutes and 20 seconds, thank you very much. It was a very long video, I haven't really done something like this. Make sure you subscribe as we're trying to hit 1,000. We've got a Valheim server in the Discord in the description. Thank you all very much for watching. Next video will be a versus battle with Geralt. I hope you all have a good day, afternoon, or night. I will be going to bed now after editing. So good night.